Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of this series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Today, the part of Joe Ryder will be played by Wolfie B. Bad.
Hey Cory, how you doing? It's been a great day over here. I'm just kind of sitting here in my basement doing a bunch of stuff. I got some food over here, so I can just start to go.
How's the eBay?
Oh, I don't want to talk about the eBay. God damn, screw eBay or don't screw eBay. I don't know where I am at the moment in this particular argument with eBay. But the thing is, you know what? eBay either sucks or is great at the moment. And you know what? So visit the store or don't visit this store, depending on my personal feelings about it at this particular moment in time.
Well, if Wolfie is back, that means we have Grandpa Dangerous Dan Mohr.
Look, Sonny, you get the hell off my internet.
And how are you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm half awake.
I'm okay. That's more than me.
And it's usually how I am. It used to be when we had a commute, you would stop at the local gas station. And I swear the local gas station knows far more about you than you ever could imagine.
That's true.
But they would ask, because they have to, and how are you doing today? And I would always say half awake.
And
they never know how to answer that.
Yeah.
Of course, then again, this is the gas station that gave you one of the American foods.
Oh, yes. You must be talking about Holiday.
No, Speedway, which is
Speedway did it.
Slowly shifting to 7-Eleven.
Really? They're coming back?
Well, they've got Slurpees. They have Big Gulps.
Oh, holy crap. I haven't been to a Speedway recently enough.
They're starting to get the 7-Eleven snacks.
Okay.
Because what it is, 7-Eleven bought Speedway. But
Wow.
they are slowly taking over. It's, kind of like a fungus.
Well, it's funny because 7-Eleven used to be the big store here.
Before I moved here, you guys had 7-Eleven. When I moved here, it was Super America.
Right, which then Speedway bought out.
Yes.
And now 7-Eleven bought out Speedway. That's hilarious.
But no, they're the ones who gave us the biscuit and gravy all in one biscuit.
Oh, yes. I remember it fondly.
Although I don't think 7-Eleven is going to be experimenting in such ways.
Probably not. No. I swear, though, it does make me...
You started wearing a Confederate flag shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You started voting against your own self-interest.
Yep. I suddenly found Trump amazingly interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. When it first came out, I was hoping to record. Well, hold on. Maybe I have this old recording. 1 second. All right, everybody. Here I am gonna try this biscuits and gravy breakfast burrito they have at Speedway. Let's see what we got here.
Wow, that's just the best thing I ever had in my entire life. I can't believe we're doing. Why haven't they had this out before? Oh my gosh! I need to go down to the plantation and share this with all the family. I mean, y'all don't understand a bit. I gotta.
That's enough of that. Okay.
Now you are going to be busy next week. Well, you're busy today.
I am busy today
because you are celebrating your birthday.
I am.
Tell the folks what you're going to be up to, because it sounds like a lot of fun.
I actually will be turning 46, which is not, a big year or anything. But the thing is, it's 26 years longer than I thought I was going to last. Let's see. Well, today we're going to Hidden Minnesota, which is in obviously Minnesota, Roseville, who they are a puzzle room and axe throwing location run by a good friend of mine, and they will be. They have a gathering room that we're going to have for a couple hours. Then we're going to throw some axes, and then go out for dinner. So,
and who are you throwing the axes at?
Well, we were hoping for you, but you had to go and decide, oh, look, they're going to give me extra money at my shift, so I'm going to go and work instead.
Yeah, the group home, boy, I turned them down 3 separate times until they got to the $100 bonus.
Think about it. If you had held out one more time, it could have been more.
No, if I would have held out one more time, they would have had the supervisor take the shift.
Oh.
And that $100 can buy a lot of pie.
It can. And like one omnibus, if you're lucky.
Well, part of an omnibus.
Yeah.
Although I do buy my omnibuses at discount, so.
Yeah.
As I'm surrounded by them.
I'm pretty sure that's your insulation now.
Well, Joe says that it's better than rebar, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to worry when they say it's severe weather now.
Oh, there you go.
And if any raccoons come in the house, I just can drop one right on them. Boom! There you go. They're dead.
I now have this picture of this large stack of omnibuses that like almost go to the roof, and the raccoon comes in, and all of a sudden they look up, and the whole thing's just coming down at them.
But you're also busy next weekend.
Yes, I am.
And tell the people.
This is dropping on the what?
Wednesday. So that will be November 2nd.
Oh, okay. So actually, next weekend. See, I need to make sure of this because it's an important timing issue. Next weekend actually is we're doing the 24-hour gaming for to go to the Children's Miracle Network, specifically our team. All of donations that go to us will go to the Gillette's Children's Hospital here in Minneapolis.
And you've done this before. This is where you are going to play video games for 24 hours straight.
Yep, 24 hours straight. This will be our 11th year, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. The site says it's our 10th, but we did one with the wrong logins. So the site is lying. But you know, it's neat because Extra Life is totally 100%. Yeah, volunteer work. So 100% of the donations actually go to the hospital. There's no nothing like other places where they will take money for the organization. So that's nice. We do, of course. Wolfie is actually the one doing it. I will Wolfie in our household. So hold on a minute here.
Yeah, we're doing it, and I need people's help because, well, you see, we all have goals that we're trying to get to and things like that. And more importantly, I want to outdo everybody else. And currently, I am behind, and I don't like this. I am behind. I'm like third of our team, if not fourth at this point. And now it's no longer about the children. It's about my pride. Okay? Okay, people, I need people to help here because I'm hurting and I need to beat these people with money. So, if you're willing to please donate, let me get the exact email address here. Like Joe, I don't remember to look it up until I get here. Let's see here. Where is it? There's a special schnitzel. Oh, is this it? Maybe. Yes. Maybe. Okay. It is extra dash life. So extra-life.org / should be Wolfie. WOLFIE. Where the hell is it? Arr, 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 arr. You're not helping me, sir. This is not sir, but yeah. Anyway, I need support. I need support. I need to beat these people. Like I said, this is a pride thing now. So do it. Go online. Give till it hurts. You donate often. The team has made its goal, but I have not. And I know there are traitors out there. That, however, I'm going to keep until Festivus.
Extra Life is a fundraising program of the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. The Extra Life community fundraises year-round to change kids' health, to change the future. Donations go to member children's hospitals to fund critical life-saving treatments and healthcare services, along with innovative research, vital pediatric medical equipment, and child life services. Since its inception in 2008, Extra Life has raised over $100 million.
Yeah.
Right now, children's hospitals need your support. Right now, we are going into another period where children are going to be in the hospital a lot. There's the RSV virus is going around and filling up children's hospital beds. And we're going to, I know everybody thinks that COVID's over, but it's not. We're going to have another wave this winter because people are going to be indoors. They're going to be packed together. Nobody's wearing masks but me. So these hospital beds are going to get filled up. Please donate. Please give. Please help.
Okay. And the entire thing was that Extra Life. So extralife.org /participant /Wolfie -B_bad. Why they did underscore? Second one, I don't understand. So /participant WOLFIE -B_bad BAD. I just, yeah, I'm confused.
And there will be a link in the show notes.
Ooh. You want me to send that to you?
Yeah.
All right.
But that's not all you're up to.
No. What?
You're a busy, busy human being.
I am. Well, I'm not. He is.
The next weekend, what are you up to, Dan?
Next weekend, the weekend after that is going to be Twin Cities Con, which again I don't know much about. I've just been told we're going to be there.
Now, are you the one who requested the table, or did Jules request the table for both of you?
Jules requested the table for both of us.
Okay.
You know, that's.
It's nice to have an agent, isn't it?
Yeah, but except for she doesn't do stuff for me. So Twin Cities Con is November 11th through the 13th. So it's actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It is going to be at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Friday it's open from noon to 7. Saturday and Sunday, or Saturday 10 to 7 and Sunday 10 to 5. You know, they've got some big names there. Oh, I didn't know Timothy Zahn was going to be there. But big names, you know, Elijah Wood's supposed to be there. Sean Austin's supposed to be there. Let's see, Britt Baker is supposed to be there.
Oh, we got a ton of AEW wrestlers there. Britt Baker. Okay, we got Jungle Boy. It's not Ty Conti. It's Anna J, who is now going by Anna JAS.
Okay.
Jungle Boy is not Matthew Perry. Who was the guy? Who was the guy on 90210?
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry's son.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. That's
and
interesting.
He he's one of these guys who's been kind of on the cusp of becoming a huge star. The crowds explode when he comes out, but because he's young, they're letting him get more experience before they strap the rocket to him and make him a big star who'll sell tickets. But I would say if you are interested in getting his autograph, I'd get it now, because in about 2 years it's going to be it'll cost 4 times as much.
Yeah.
And Britt Baker, huge star already. I imagine her autograph costs a lot.
Yes. Oh, Dave Wheeler's going to be there. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, good.
He's at the MCBA thing all the time. So.
Yep. So Xander Cannon.
Cool.
Who's been at comic conventions here in the Twin Cities for as long as I can remember. Larry Hama's there.
Yep.
Who has been writing G.I. Joe forever, was an editor at Marvel in the 80s, and has written tons of comics, including Wolverine, for like 7-8 years. So this is one of those, mostly it's a celebrity convention.
Yes.
Now, you have been doing conventions. When did you start going back to conventions?
Back to conventions?
Because, there was a while where nobody did conventions.
Yeah, just last year, actually. So I think the first I was supposed to start more last year, 2021, but a couple of them I got sick right beforehand. So more actually this year, I think, is when we really started getting back to them, and they started opening up. So.
Now, the ones you did last year, we were still kind of in, the vaccine had been rolled out.
Yep.
But it took a while for people to want to be in crowds again. What were those first conventions after the pandemic like?
A lot. Well, it depended on the convention, and because a couple of them were actually quite busy, but that was bad because then COVID spread. But it was that kind of, oh my God, we have conventions again, so everybody went and probably shouldn't have. Then we had the smaller conventions that people, we're still worried, we're still trying to be smart about it, and well, they were pretty dead. In fact, like I said, one of them I was scheduled to do a bunch of stuff at, and I had to cancel last minute because I didn't have COVID, but I was definitely showing signs. So then they specifically said, if you do have signs, don't come. And I'm like, okay, won't come. That one was interesting because Wolfie had a panel, and I mentioned that I'd be willing to do it over Skype or Zoom, and they're like, and I got a call or a message about 2 hours later going, we've got like 5 people trying to figure out how to make this work, so we'll let you know. So Wolfie ended up still doing his panel via Skype, so which was funny. His panel was still only had about 7 or 8 people in it, but I was told that was one of the bigger panels. So yeah, it was interesting.
Now, last year, were there a lot of people wearing masks?
Oh yeah, most of them still required them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can require it, but because one of the things that I actually really liked about the mask thing, and I still wear my mask for 2 reasons. Mm-hmm. One, I work at a group home with people who have compromised immune systems, and 2, I bought some really cool masks.
Yeah, that I understand. We got a ton of like Marvel and Transformers and stuff. So
I have Baby Metal, Rush, and wrestling.
Of course you do.
And I even got my dad a wrestling mask, even though he doesn't watch wrestling, because the wrestler, his catchphrase is, I'm here to do cowboy shit.
Uh-huh.
And I figured my dad would like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he loved it.
Well, that's good.
Still wears it when he goes out. Now, were there a lot of people selling masks at conventions?
Not a lot. There was most people that I knew weren't the type of weren't really fabric creators at the convention, so they weren't really selling stuff like that. But at least one of the people who do that I know of, they go by Redbird and Redbird Creations. They had made masks and stuff like that, but they weren't at every convention that I was at. In fact, they actually had to be more careful, because they also had reasons not to be in large groups at first. So,
yeah, I think this is stereotyping, but in the nerd community,
mm-hmm.
there is a lot of people who are immune compromised.
Yes, that is very true.
My son has asthma, really bad asthma.
Yep.
To where during the summer he needs to do the daily inhaler.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still really super nervous about going out. He did go to the Rammstein concert.
Mm-hmm.
And then he asked me, it's funny, he asked me about, you ever seen them? Oh, yeah, I saw them, years ago at First Avenue. He was like, they were at First Avenue? I was like, yeah, they didn't have the stage show with the explosions and the fire in First Avenue like they did it. I think they were at Target Center.
I believe so, yeah.
But yeah, it was Rammstein at First Avenue. He said, I'd rather have seen them there.
It's funny, Jules was at that concert.
Oh, I know a lot of people who went to that show.
Yeah, me too. Notice I said Jules was.
Yes. You're not a fan.
No. I like them.
But
she got asked by some other guy.
Oh, okay. Now, you have people in your house who have immune issues. So did that weigh on whether you would go to a show or not?
Yeah, if they didn't have requirements of you have to be vaccinated and or a COVID test right then and there that said you didn't have it, and even then it was you had to have it had to be a reason why you weren't vaccinated other than I don't want to. We were reluctant to go.
Now, is it different this year? Have things kind of opened up this year?
Things have opened up, but it's still slower than it used to be. And at the same time, for instance, we actually went to WorldCon this year.
Yeah.
And
that's for people who don't know, WorldCon is the big annual science fiction convention. That's where they announce the Hugo Awards. It's, travels around the world. It's a monster.
Yeah. There were a lot of people there, but not nearly as much as I thought would be there. We weren't selling at this one. We just went to go because we kind of decided really towards the last minute to go. And I got a lot of sleep, which was nice because I don't like to do panels unless I'm on them. And the main reason I was wanted to go is because I actually know a lot of the authors who I thought would be there, and almost none of them were.
Now, for those who don't know, you used to be an assistant to an author.
It wasn't an author. It was somebody who, though, was big into the community, did a lot with them and for them. So I ended up meeting a lot of authors through them. So, yes. She was actually a jeweler.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. If you ask them, they are an amazing writer who just never published anything.
Ah, okay.
And all of the ideas for the novels and everything that these great authors come up with are because of her jewelry.
Ah, okay.
And no, this is not my wife. For other people, no, she does not take that credit from people. And just my luck, they'll be listening to this.
So, what is it like being at WorldCon? You know, because this is, even when I was a kid, you heard about WorldCon if you were any sort of nerd, because the science fiction magazines would build it up as if this was the biggest event ever. Isaac Asimov, always writing about it in the Isaac Asimov magazine. What is it like showing up there as an exhibitor?
Well, like I said, I wasn't an exhibitor.
I thought your wife was.
No,
Or,
we just went.
No,
we
you were
went to
just
go.
fans? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
We just went to go because we decided to go like within a couple months beforehand. So we wouldn't have been able to get a table even if we wanted to. But this one we actually just went to go. However, we talked to a lot of the exhibitors, and they were like, "Well, it's okay," but the thing is, again, it's a lot smaller, or not as many people showed up as normal. So, they I think they were doing well enough to make at least a little bit of a profit, but not what they were expecting. We went and there were tons of lines, even to the big authors that were sometimes just empty.
Wow.
Yeah. Then there were there's a couple authors like Joe Halderman was there. His line was huge. So I just waited until Icon, which was a couple weeks later, to sit down and talk with them again. But it actually didn't seem like that big of a convention comparatively, and some of the things really surprised me. They had a great hotel for the experience, though, because it was the Hyatt in downtown Chicago, which is 2 towers, but like across a street from each other. But there's 4 levels below ground that connect the two. That's just huge space for conventions, and it was really cool to be to see that. It was really good for a convention space. However, for instance, the Hugos were presented. I didn't actually go to them, but Jules and a couple other friends of mine did. And the room they held it in was the same room they held the karaoke night in. So it's not like this huge room. Most of the opening ceremonies in like the conventions around here are bigger. And so it was really weird to hear that. I'm like, wait, they what? So I would have thought the Hugos would have been in like a huge theater like setting, not necessarily like like even the size of the Orpheum. I wasn't even thinking that, but I was thinking like at least one of their bigger convention spaces. But no, apparently it was in this fairly medium-sized room.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is actually kind of weird.
Yeah. So now again, that they may have saw how many people they had there and decided just to use that smaller space. So I can give you a better idea. In 2024, we're planning on going to the Glasgow.
Wow.
Jules being IT, we got there. We weren't, like I said, we weren't planning on working or anything. We get the first day though. Jules went down to the dealer's room, and they were having some major technical problems and didn't have an IT person. So she ended up working for 4 hours to get them up and running.
Hold on.
Yeah.
A science fiction convention.
Yeah.
And your wife is the only IT person there.
Apparently. Or at least the only IT person willing to, say, yeah, okay, I'll volunteer on last minute notice.
You're killing all of my illusions here.
I know. At the same time, have you been to a writers convention?
I actually have not. I've only been to comic conventions.
Okay, writing conventions are interesting. And it depends on who's there. But the thing is, a lot of the times, unless they have IT experience, of course, even the sci-fi writers don't necessarily know how to deal with issues.
That I understand. That I understand, because famously, a lot of science fiction writers still wrote on typewriters, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because they talked about it, how, well, you're writing science fiction and you don't use a word processor. And they would talk about, well, I've been writing on a typewriter, blah, 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 blah. But you would think that science fiction fans.
Yeah. You'd think.
Because I know when I used to go to the MCBA cons,
mm-hmm.
all my friends from IT were there.
Uh-huh. Well, the funny thing is, like at the WorldCon, really what it felt like I was looking at, it was, I had a lot of friends there. A lot of them were up and coming writers. So it was more of a writers convention, it felt like, than a sci-fi con.
Huh.
There were definitely people who had those, were there for just for the fun of it and were fans. But I'd say more often than not, it was people who wanted to learn how to write. And so a lot of the panels and everything are aimed towards that.
Huh. That is not what I expected. Especially since the local science fiction convention is basically an excuse for nerds to get together and drink and have sex.
Yes.
Which I also did not know science fiction conventions were like until I moved here. And I had friends who went to, at the time, the big one was Minicon.
Yep.
And it was like, well, I'm going to Minicon this weekend. Oh, cool. Who are the guests going to be? I don't know.
Yeah, that was really the point towards the end of Minicon.
Well, this was in the early 80s. The late 80s, where it's like, well, aren't you going to, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, no, I'm going to this party and this party and this party and this party and this party. And I'm going to be so trashed. Mm-hmm. That I'll probably sleep in the hallway until the security gets me.
Well, think of it this way. And now, before I offend anybody with what I'm about to say, realize I am in this group, okay? Sci-fi and fantasy and anime people are not necessarily known for their social skills. And we are very shy when it comes to our likes and stuff like that. And so it's hard for us to find people who are willing to, just like for relationships and or quickies or whatever you want to call it, or to party safely, and feel comfortable to party. Now you have an entire group of people who all feel that way, all converging in one spot. Yeah, they suddenly have opportunities that they normally do not have in the real world.
Ah, okay. Whereas comic conventions are, how can I get, how can I fill up this long box with cheap comics?
Right. Yes, true comic collectors are even worse. Because if given the opportunity, they would rather fill their long boxes than somebody else's.
Ba-dum-dum, chick. Good afternoon, everybody. Now, what conventions have you gone to this year?
This year, I went to Demicon in the spring.
And that, of course, is a convention where you celebrate Demi Moore.
Yes, which is surprisingly popular and, however, very small. No, Demicon is a sci-fi fantasy convention down in Iowa. It's Des Moines, and so we go down there. We will sell, and also Wolfie will usually present a few panels, and I will present a few panels, and that's fun because I don't know why, but a lot of Wolfie's fans are from Iowa. So Then let's see, what did we do? We did WorldCon. We did Icon, which is also in Iowa, and that's in Cedar Rapids.
I love Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
I actually, when I drove back from Illinois, there's a comic shop there, Alter Ego, that I dropped in.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a fun little shop.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while. I didn't even know if it was still going after COVID. So.
And it's almost like it's its own little building.
Oh, neat.
You know, it's a very small building in an obscure part of town. My GPS got me there, but boy, they just, you know, and it's just comics.
Yeah.
It's not games, it's not books, it's not magic cards, it's not Pokemon cards. It's just comics. It felt like I was stepping into the 80s without the obnoxious owner making fun of you for what you bought. The person working was really, really polite, knew their stuff, wanted to chat you up because she was, you know, sitting in this building all day. And I dropped in on a Sunday, so Sunday's not, you know, your busiest day.
No.
So, but still, really fun shop. And whenever you drive into town, it smells like oatmeal cookies. Because the Quaker Oats plant is in the middle of town.
It is. It is.
My first drive to Minnesota, I remember we were driving up, and you know, we got into Cedar Rapids, and we had the windows down because, you know, the car I had no air conditioning. This was 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, wow, that smells really good. What is that? Because, you know, you drive through Iowa, most of the smells in Iowa are not very good. What is that? What is that? Oh my gosh, it smells like cookies. And then, you know, you drive by the Quaker Oats thing, and it was just an overpowering scent. It's like, oh, that's why. Oh, if it wasn't 10 o'clock at night, we would stop and see if they were giving out samples.
And I'm sorry, I fell down on that job. Oatmeal cookies. I need to have some oatmeal cookies. I'll be back.
He's Joe, so he needed them. Yeah.
So, any other conventions in the Twin Cities you've gone to?
No, I did a couple. We did a couple craft shows, specifically at Hidden, Minnesota. That, like I was talking about, I'll be there later today. They do like quarterly shows, and again, because they're good friends of ours, we like to try to help promote them, and also it's fun to have some time down there because it's the only time I can see some of my two friends who run it because they're so busy. And so, but the Twin Cities Con is the next one, the next and last one I think we're doing this year.
Okay.
So
now you used to run a convention, kinda, sorta, kinda.
Sorta. I've been on a couple concoms. And
no, the one that you had, the Holiday Geek.
The Holiday Geek Expo, yes. And because of COVID, that had stopped. We were thinking of redoing it, but Hidden Minnesota again is their quarterly one is close to when Holiday Geek was, so we talked with them, and basically we are giving them they're not calling it the Holiday Geek Expo, so we still have the name if we ever decide to go back to it, but basically they're going to be running it, and we don't have to do it anymore.
I was going to say, because I used to run the Twin Cities convention, and friends don't let friends run conventions.
No. Oh my God, no. And ours was just the dealer's room, basically, version of a convention. So we were just getting dealers in the room and advertising, and that was pretty much all we were doing.
And that's pretty much enough.
That is more than enough, yeah.
Although I bet your dealers were much nicer than the ones I had to deal with.
Yes, mainly because we knew them, and they were most of them were friends of ours, and knew that Jules would probably blow up on them if they gave us too much trouble.
Now, as conventions keep picking up,
Mm-hmm.
are you looking to do more next year?
Yes and no. We have one specifically that we will do dealers tables at. We'll probably pick up more than we had this year if possible. But at the same time, if anybody would like a entertainment guest of Wolfie and or me, we would be happy to come down to wherever you are and do some panels and or MC or whatever you would like. So just putting that out there. WolfieBbad at gmail.com. You can contact him there. That's WolfieBbad. So yeah, get a hold of us because Stephanie won't take me seriously when I say that I want her to manage me.
Well, she does have some clients that require a little bit of extra work.
Right. So she needs somebody really simple.
And actually, she mostly represents musicians at this point.
I can pretend to sing. I do karaoke.
Stephanie, my friend Stephanie Coronado, has been talking to me for the past month about having to fill out all this paperwork. One of her acts is up for a Grammy. And she says the amount of paperwork you have to do for that is overwhelming.
Oh, I bet.
And all I can think is, really? For a Grammy? for the award that Dexy's Midnight Runners got Best New Artist?
Well,
for the award that Milli Vanilli won Best New Artist?
Oh, yeah. Think about it, though. Usually the dumber the award, the more paperwork.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Yeah, you have to realize there is a correlation here.
So normally when you're on the show, we have Joe here and you two talk Transformers. So I don't know Transformers.
Okay. Okay.
But I do know that the run at IDW is ending at the end of this year. And they've announced but not announced that it's going to Image.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Robert Kirkman has been saying for the past year without, basically dropping hints that he's the one who has picked up the rights for Transformers starting next year without saying it, dropping massive hints and everything. But do you still read the IDW Transformers comics?
Yes.
Well, the way you're saying that, there's a story.
Well, I was really starting to get into the new story that they're writing, and then the announcement was dropped that they were no longer going to be producing, and I'm like, oh. So it's like, okay, is this going to be one of those we have to finish it up quickly? Do we, will it still be a good story? So I've been buying the comics. I have them. I haven't taken the time that I used to make sure that I've actually caught up. I think I am caught up at the moment on the main story. But then, of course, they started releasing side stories that now I don't know if are even going to be able to be completed. So
yes, everything's going to be completed because they've known for a year that it's ending.
Yeah,
and they're hyping in previews. This many months left. This many months left.
Yeah.
So everybody in editorial knows.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they've communicated that to the writers.
I would hope.
Since that's how they're pitching it.
Yeah, but see, I've watched other people who have had the Transformers IP, and it's just like they suddenly stop.
Well, with Dream whatever, I don't even remember the name of that company.
Dream.
See, no one remembers.
Yeah, it's not DreamWorks. It's but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They ran out of money.
Oh, okay. Dreamweaver.
That's it. Yeah. Marvel knew it was ending, and they wrapped everything up, if I remember right. Because they even had on the cover last issue.
Oh, yeah.
Number 75 of a 75-issue limited series or something like that.
Of a 4-issues limited series, yes.
Yes.
But it wasn't tied up well. I mean, that's why when IDW got it, they started doing the what did they call it? The retro or whatever, which was a continuation of that story.
And it was by the same writer, Simon Furman.
Right. So it was sort of tied up. That's what I mean, is that it felt like it was rushed. It's like, okay, we got to finish this. And then, like, I mean, it was okay. The Unicron comes and basically almost decimates the entire thing, and suddenly this godlike Autobot shows up and fixes everything. It's like, what? Okay. But, like, you know, some of the characters still couldn't transform due to Nucleon because they were trying to do the Action Master, go with the Action Masters toys that came out at one point, which were just action figures and not actual transforming action figures. So it was just like, it felt like they just went, we have all these ideas, we're just going to drop most of them and not explain anything and just get the main story done and fix it somehow.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. So, so Marvel's felt like that. Dreamweaver well, now I know why, but really felt like that. Even I don't know what it is, but I don't think anybody knows how to end a Transformer story. It's like JMS was writing all of them,
or George R.R. Martin.
Right.
I think a lot of people who write serialized stories, that are endless soap operas,
yeah,
they don't know how to end it.
Yeah.
I could think of a number of TV series where they got to the end, they're like, we don't know.
See, with the soap operas, you just expect somebody to look at the camera and go, "Will we be back?"
I remember I watched All My Children when I was in high school and early college. Then when I heard it was going away, it was like, I should watch the last week to see how they're going to wrap it up. But then I read where it's going to be moving over to being online. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they never went online. So anybody who was watching it and they were like, yeah, soon we'll be on Yahoo to finish this up. Then crickets. Did you hear that? Oh my gosh, Dan, the crickets are back.
Where were they?
Well, what it was, a little convoluted here.
Okay.
The crickets were on WrestleCrap Radio.
Right.
And they were a big fixture on WrestleCrap Radio. They got named and everything. And then WrestleCrap Radio ended. And we bought them in the All Things Must Go sale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then WrestleCrap Radio came back.
Okay.
And they, of course, asked, can we have our crickets back?
Right.
And we said no, but the crickets left anyway.
Understandable.
Well, about a year ago, Blade Braxton passed away.
Okay.
Friend of, co-host on WrestleCrap Radio. One of my dear internet friends who actually came up to visit one time. He came to a show at First Avenue. First, he asked if he could crash on my couch. So him being a hobo was not a gimmick. It was a work. And the thing was, it's like, dude, I'm sleeping at the group home tonight. I'm sorry. Oh, that's fine. I got somebody else. So we met afterward because he wanted to see where Mallrats was filmed.
Oh, okay.
Which is the Eden Prairie Mall.
Right.
So I took him on a tour of the Eden Prairie Mall, and I was going to take him to Punch Pizza, which is next door, because I said, we should get something to eat. He said, yeah, find a really good pizza place. We're going through the Eden Prairie Mall, and guess what he saw? Sbarro's.
Of course.
We had to eat at Sbarro's because he was Blade Braxton. He was getting ready to go, and he was talking about it was great, to see First Avenue where Prince performed and everything was. And I said, well, Prince's studio is about 5 miles west of here, and they have it available for tours. And it was like I told him Santa Claus is coming and giving you every gift that he forgot over the last 50 years. His eyes got big, and he had to go. And I chatted with him online a lot. If you go and read about Blade Braxton on Facebook, he was everybody's pal. He was one of these guys who, when you met him, you were instantly friends.
Okay.
Loved comics, loved horror, loved music, just had fun. He passed away about a year ago. And I asked Artie Reynolds, the other host of WrestleCrap Radio, who's now doing another show called The Joker's Mustache, by the way, where he and infamous wrestling writer Vince Russo review each episode of the Batman TV show. And now you see why it's called The Joker's Mustache.
I figured it had a tie in there, yeah.
I asked him, did Blade leave me anything in his will? And he said, well, yeah, he left you the crickets. So, ladies and gentlemen, the WrestleCrap crickets are back with crazy comics and stories.
Nice.
As a tribute to our pal Blade Braxton.
I say it's wonderful to know that the crickets are back. It was the most exciting part of your show.
I didn't say you were back.
Look, unfortunately, one thing that they didn't tell you is I come with the crickets. They're the only people that consider me an equal.
You know who else considers people an equal?
Oh, do tell.
These guys, our sponsors. Our newest sponsor is NordVPN. Let's be honest, if you're out on the internet, you need a VPN to protect you. There's all sorts of things going on the internet where people can track you. You could accidentally download a keylogger, all sorts of things. NordVPN gives the best security possible. It has a password manager which generates complex passwords, syncs across all your devices, stores your notes and credit card information. It also gives you 10 gigabytes of private cloud storage, secure files that backs up your data automatically. But the main thing it gives you is peace of mind. It gives you peace of mind when you're out on the internet, when you're streaming, when you're playing games, when you're listening to podcasts like this one. It gives you safety anywhere at any time. It protects your online activity. You get full access to all content. And if you use the link go.nordvpn.net sh3ku, it'll take you to where you can get a great deal for a 1-month plan, a 2-year plan, a 1-year plan. They are our newest sponsor. We're happy to have them. And if you would like to sponsor something here at any of the podcasts on the Solitaire Rose Network, you can. Just email me, solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. Thanks.
You, my friend, are a master segueist.
And if you think me talking to Dan is a lot of fun, just think of all these other podcasts I do. The Solitaire Rose Podcast Network is filled with all kinds of audio goodness. First, there's Crazy Comics and Stories. It's been going since 2010. It drops every Monday, and it has me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, and Joe Crazy Writer talking comics shenanigans, and whatever we're freaking and geeking about. Every Monday morning. It's been going since 2010, and it's available at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. Also on that same feed is the Solitaire Rose podcast, which is me, again, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard, doing interviews, talking about comics history, pretty much talking about whatever I want to talk about. We've also got Solo Joe, where Joe Crazy Rider does a solo podcast, and he hasn't done one in a while, so kick him in the shins to get him started. We also, on that same feed, have Solitaire Rose Series and Review, where we do DVD commentary of older comic book series. That's all at crazycomics.solitairerose.com. I also do a podcast with Wolfie B. Bad at badadvice.solitairerose.com, where we take listener questions and give them bad advice. There's also Novelcast, where I take the novels I've written and turn them into free audiobooks. That's at novels.solitairerose.com. There's also Fantastic Forecast, where myself and Adam Vermillion are going through the entire run of the Fantastic Four, 4 issues at a time. That's fantasticforecast.solitairerose.com. There are always more podcasts at the Solitaire Rose Podcast Network. Be there. Aloha. Been doing this for 12 years. I ought to know how to smooth things over.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
I really want to get back into our podcast too, Cory. I'm hoping we can do that starting like in the early next year. But I know you're really busy too.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about that later in the show.
We will?
Yes.
Oh.
Now normally this is when Joe talks about conventions, but we've spent an hour talking about conventions.
Yeah, and probably pretty boringly.
I strongly disagree. Oh. But you know what we do after conventions, Dan? You haven't been on the show for a while.
What after? No, I have not. I'm well aware of that fact. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, say hi to Cory.
I'm eating.
Hi, Cory. Listen, they're shy. Okay, we're sitting at Pat's second favorite gluten-free restaurant. What's the name of it? It's an Italian restaurante. It's in Valley Creek Mall where they do the Comic-Con.
Yes.
So, anyways, I thought while we're waiting for a pizza,
Hot one.
I want to hear how everybody first discovered hot comics. Butch. Oh, never mind. He's eating.
I do it.
No, mine's quick. I knew Brian when we were kids, and then he opened Hot Comics.
Did he tell you about it, or was it just open comic store?
No, I knew it was happening.
Were you buds with Dan as well, or was it just?
Well, Brian was friends with Dan, but yeah, then I got to be friends with Dan through Brian.
Did you ever work it, or was it just, hey, we're open? And...
You're like, what?
Did you ever work it or hang there, or what was?
Well, I was there on opening day for sure.
There wasn't a lot of room to hang in that original shop.
No. I stopped in regularly and hung out there a bit. Not quite like the way we remember hanging out at the shop. Not even close, but.
Because I remember you used to tell me I had to go to Schindler's to get Iron Man because for some reason Brian wouldn't order Iron Man.
Yeah, right.
Nope.
Yeah, they'd have like two copies of each new issue, and that doesn't mean all the new issues. You had to be selective.
How about you, Pat? How'd you find
Hot
comics?
I think I just seen a little sign. That was back when the original spot, right behind the Instant Prints and the Sewing Lady, I think it was. It was like Instant Prints and a Sewing Lady or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had weird hours. It wasn't open a lot. Like a few times I walked in, it was
down a little hallway.
Yep, down the hallway next to the bathroom, I think, or the electronics room. But
close.
And it wasn't always open. Or it'd be a sign that says on break. Or,
it was a small place.
Very small.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
And I was not that impressed at first, obviously.
Because I used it for a warehouse for a while.
Yeah, because it was not that big, but yeah, I was not that impressed at first. Because like you said, they didn't have a lot of stuff, or most of their back issues weren't even bagged. And
they
he would have runs like in one book, like he had like 10 copies of Action 471, but nothing else.
I'd say, if I remember right, they did most of their business that first year. It wasn't from comics; it was from
toys.
Yes, like mail-ordered G.I. Joe and Transformers and Star Wars toys.
Imagine walking in. I mean, we could see pictures of it, and you'd be like, "Oh, look at those original Transformers, those original Joes, He-Man." We're like, yeah, whatever. They're new from Toys R Us, but we're also like nowadays we'd be like, oh, like looking back at Amazing Spider-Man 300. Oh, why didn't I keep 20 copies of that?
Yeah, and also I wasn't big into toys back then, or ever.
Yeah,
ever. So it's like
So
I wasn't all
stopping
that
them.
impressed. I mean, he seemed like a nice guy the few times I talked to him, but yeah. You know, and then, you know, because we mostly, you and I shopped at, what the hell,
St. Paul Comic.
The Devil, yeah, St.
Yeah,
Paul
we were
Comic.
still buying.
The evil man. The evil man deserves a burn in hell because he sold me. No, don't cut me off. This is my story. No.
And of course, I discovered it because
Pat got long con.
Pat told me one day, hey, there's a comic store open by my house. And so, I don't know, I
That's
remember
right, it was
driving
pretty close for you.
up and down and I couldn't find it. And they go, oh, it's
No.
behind the Instaprint.
No, you sure couldn't.
And I think I went on my own. I don't think you went with me.
Remember they had a TV commercial?
I
Or
have,
two,
it, I
yeah.
have it on tape somewhere.
I don't even know if they had signage on the front area.
There was a big yellow sign in the window that's, I think, because we got it eventually.
It wasn't the high one, though, that they used to have up there where it had like instant prints because they were there.
I think it was just a yellow sign.
I better
that
have
they
a piece of this bread before Joe eats it all.
So, and I remember when Pat said the evil one decided he wasn't going to carry
new
two books, and then it was weird because we got like courted by everybody in town
That's
they were
cool.
like, because we were doing P&J weekend, and they're like, oh, what do you want? We'll give you good discount. Well, their good discount wasn't as good as Brian and Dan's because they were offering like 30%. And
Yeah.
like, okay.
And this was when they had moved up to the second shop.
Now, Butch, you had a story.
Uh-oh.
Because when we were getting ready to go to Hot Comics, there was the first week we were there, I think you were running it because was Brian getting married that weekend or something?
I don't know what was going on, but they were out
at a
of...
show or something.
I was at his wedding, so
Okay.
he wasn't getting married. Yeah, they were at a show or something. So what's my story? That
Because when we were coming up,
they were telling me, okay, we got these new subscribers coming, Pat and Joe, and okay, now I'm like, I've always heard of this Pat and Joe, but I didn't know who you guys were. Even though at Grew's first con in 1984, both of your first con in 1984, I bought a book that Grew put
He was
out.
out taking a break, though. That's why you didn't see him.
Yeah.
there was no gas stations. It was tough.
I don't know which one of you I bought it from, but I bought a...
Probably for me, because I try to sell everything.
Well, I don't know which one of you was man in the table, you know. But I bought a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 35, 28, Molten Man issue. That like 30 years later, I was thinking about it. I wasn't even looking at it. I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know, that's Grew's writing on that.
I had a key, because I know I bought like 5 of them from my wholesaler. I bought a bunch of those from. I wish I would have kept them all. Because they were all like in pretty good shape, too. Like, very fine.
Yeah, and I got it for like $2.50. They were real nice.
Yeah.
And I went through and grabbed what was the best one that was in there. I think there were maybe 3 of them.
Yep.
And you had gotten, what, 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yep. So yeah, back in 1984, that was our first con.
And then you guys had also bought a collection of a couple boxes from a friend of mine, so he was telling me about Pat and Joe, and then I'd hear about, and that was quite a bit earlier, like 1989. There were some Burn X-Men's in there, and some McFarlane Spider-Mans when that was still hot.
Still
And because I remember telling him that's all they wanted, you know. And you gave them all your comics. But he said, I just wanted to be rid of it. I said, well, you can't argue with that kind of logic, you know.
Oh, what'd they tell you when because you were running the shop and we were coming up for like one of our first visits. Because the first visit we couldn't go because that was the weekend Brian was getting married. Because they were like, oh, he's closed that weekend.
Really, yeah. I couldn't tell you when it was. Thank you.
Trade ya.
That would have had to been early 92. Maybe 91, 92.
Early 92.
Well, we bought the shop in 92, so
Yeah,
probably was 90 or 91.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I implicitly know when you bought the shop, but I don't remember when that deal was when you guys were first coming in.
Yeah. I think we came in a year or two before we tried to purchase it.
Yeah,
We liked it so much, we bought the shop.
Yeah.
there was some time, yeah. But I just was warned, or not warned isn't the right word, but
I
I
think
was
warned was-
alerted that, well, which is a lot like being warned, like you were alerted that there's a mass murder running around.
Yeah, so we're just going to stay in place.
Shelter in place.
But I was told that you guys were coming in, and the biggest part to me, I don't remember if I was told not to mess it up or anything.
Right here is the pepperoni. Welcome.
Okay, anyways, just finish up quick till we eat.
I was excited to finally meet you guys.
Well, I thought
get that straightened out.
I thought it was Dan told you that don't mess this up or something.
You know, I don't.
Warning.
Maybe, but I had been told not to mess something up before and mess something up, so that stands
maybe
out.
That's why they did that. Okay. Okay, that's all you get. We eat now. Bye bye.
And now it's time for a new segment, Retro Reviews. You're going to notice, first off, that my voice is shot, but also that Dangerous Dan Mohr is not with me as we do this. What happened was, as we got later in the episode, Dan's computer had some problems. He found out later it's because he was downloading something that he didn't know he was downloading, and it caused his the recording on his end to stutter. So what we did was, I'm recording my part, he's recording his part. I'm going to merge them together. So, Retro Reviews, that's where we review older comics. The one I read this week is Marvel Comics 2001: A Space Odyssey, issue number 7, which is from 1977 and was part of Jack Kirby's return to Marvel, where he was back at Marvel from 1975 to 1978. A movie adaptation of 2001: A Space Odyssey was a little odd because the movie itself came out in 1968. A comic series based on the movie and following up on it was even odder. But I remember as a kid, I had heard about 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it was one of those movies that you heard about so much, I had to know everything. So I bought a couple of books. No, wait, I checked them out from the library. They actually had them at the library. The first was Arthur C. Clarke's novel, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was not an adaptation of the movie. The movie and the novel were kind of written at the same time. Then there was another book by Arthur C. Clarke called The Lost Worlds of 2001, which was the short story that the movie and the novel had been based on, as well as essays and other things Arthur C. Clarke had written about 2001. So I read and devoured those, understood the story. Then Marvel put out a Treasury edition adaptation of the movie, which sadly has never been reprinted, and I don't know if it ever will. Boy, I'd love it if they did. But it was a 100-page adaptation of the movie by Jack Kirby, and Kirby did his version of it, and it was on these big pages, and it was just beautiful. I go back and I look at it now, it's still just beautiful. Kirby was as much a visionary as Stanley Kubrick. But again, Kirby had his version of the movie. I read Arthur C. Clarke's version of the movie. And later, when it was shown on TV, I watched it. And everybody else who watched it with me, the members of the family were like, I don't get it. And I, the teenager, explained it to them because I'd read the book and I'd read the comic. Now, there are a number of different interpretations of the ending. You may have yours. I had mine imprinted on me by Jack Kirby. And this issue number 7, is at last the most fantastic revelation of all, the new seed at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Here's a spoiler for a 45-year-old movie. One of the astronauts is sort of evolved into this space baby and flies out into the universe. Jack Kirby interpreted that in this story. And what it started with an astronaut landing on a beautiful planet. He grows older. He enjoys being on this beautiful planet. As he rapidly grows older, we then see the monolith. And as he passes away, the monolith turns him into the new seed. And Kirby has these big panels, 4 and 6 page 4 panels a page, 6 panels a page, and it is not 4 pages in before he's doing all this cosmic stuff and showing these beautiful spacescapes as the new seed travels. He shows it traveling to different worlds, some of which haven't had life yet, some of which have life already that's struggling to survive, some of which have water. There's a beautiful full page splash page on page 7. There are also places where technology reigns supreme, world linked with world by mechanisms of staggering accomplishments. The Nude Seed looks upon civilizations that dwarf the star systems that spawned them. And it's just this huge Kirby machine. His machines were always so inventive and fascinating to look at, that linked star systems within Dyson spheres connected to each other. Oh, and then the Starseed goes to a planet where most of life is gone. There are worlds that do not die from natural causes. There are worlds there are worlds which perish from the very living things that they brought into being. The New Seed senses the planet of smashed cities from afar. It swoops low to marvel at the folly which could generate such massive and complete destruction. And what it is, it's a planet where the last parts of civilization are at war. And we have the New Seed going through as we see these two factions fighting each other and hunting down those who don't believe the way that they do. It very much reminds me of Kirby's War Stories, how his time in World War II, he often talked about it being a clash of civilizations, how it could be the end of the world, and it really colored both his thinking and his storytelling. And this is sort of the end result of one of those wars. It's just, his pages here just show devastating rubble, a world with huge cracks in the earth and people barely struggling to survive. As we get toward the end of the story, we see that there is a couple that's being held apart by these marauders, and the man is fighting against impossible odds. He's able to save the girl, but then a missile hits near him, killing him. Violence begets further violence, and in ever-mounting fury blossoms like a death flower until it finally engulfs the world. Thus the New Seed witnesses the sad history of this planet. It is far easier to stop the rising sun than hatred unleashed. It is impossible to stay the hand which holds victory in its clenched fist. And as the man and the woman die, the New Seed watches. Is this the universal will? Does life struggle to evolve and race madly to a cutoff point? It cannot be so. It cannot be a process without reason, no more than the New Seed can exist without reason. And what the New Seed does, he takes the two people who have died and converts them into pure energy, and then moves off the planet. With his prize in tow, the New Seed departs quickly on the quest, as it must now pursue amongst the galaxies. It finds a planet with an envelope of air. A world is newly born. It has continents and vast oceans, but the elements of life are not within its waters. They may never be. The moment has come for the New Seed to eject its burden. It drifts down like a golden star from the dark heavens. It touches the sterile waters and continues to descend. Somewhere within its golden core, the atomic particles buzz, fat and vital with the elements of life. Destiny is in the making, as once more the object submerges. Its rays flare brightly before it vanishes. And seeing that the New Seed has started the spark of life, it takes off. And that's the end of the story, and that's how Kirby sees what the monolith is doing. If you read the Arthur C. Clarke stuff, it's similar but different. But it's still working off that same principle. But the reason you read this is partly for the philosophy involved and the interpretation of Kubrick's movie. But also, Kirby is just knocking himself out with the visuals on these planets and star systems and cosmic travels. It's a beautiful comic. really beautiful. And for the people who say that Kirby's dialogue was clunky, I've read this aloud. It's not clunky, it's mythic. It's telling a big story. It's telling a much bigger story than most comic creators did at the time. It reminds me a lot of how Jim Starlin was telling big stories, and how other creators in comics were, trying to do big science fiction stuff. This is on our scale of buy, borrowing, where this is easily a buy. I know that the 2001 A Space Odyssey series is probably starting to get expensive. But if you are a Kirby collector, this is a definite buy. You're not going to be able to find this on an app or through Marvel Unlimited or anything else, because the rights have reverted back to MGM, and I really doubt MGM's going out of their way to reprint this, which is a damn shame, because out of the series that Kirby did at Marvel, this one is one of the best.
Okay, so apparently we were having some technical issues, so we're going to do the review of Silver Surfer 50 one more time for the retro review. And what I'm going to put down there is, we're doing the fast version now, is Silver Surfer 50, embossed cover. First one I read. Awesome, good. Thanos beats the crap out of Silver Surfer. Neat. Buy it.
And now it's time for my favorite part of the show. No, not where I go to Skype's headquarters and start kicking people in the shins for how badly Skype's handles things. No, it's Freaking and Geeking, and here is Dan's Freaking.
My freaking, however, is more Wolfie's.
Yeah, that's right. I have a freaking. Somebody is a traitor. I'm not going to say who at this point. I'm going to save it for the Festivus episode, so here's the reason to watch that or listen to that. But that way you will learn who and who is the traitor and what that traitor did. Yes, it's a Festivus.
I'm also freaking on the fact that Cory made me get up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday in order to do this podcast. I think I'm still suffering.
I really only have one freaking, and that's for my friend Lance Jones, who runs Guandanaland Comics. I've talked about Guandanaland Comics in the past. They are a publisher that works through Amazon to publish public domain books. I actually have been sorting comics, and I have 2 short boxes full of Guandanaland reprint books. I really like what they do. I like that they're formatted well. They're great for carrying around to read. Yes, I could download public domain comics from Comic Book Plus and the Internet Archive at, I think it's archive.org. But there's something about having that book in my hand for certain things, and he does do an excellent job. Well, what happened was he went away on vacation. While he was away on vacation, Amazon sent him a copyright notice that one of the books that he was printing was copyrighted to someone else. And because he didn't answer within the time frame, because he was on vacation, they took down everything. He had over 4,000 books available on Amazon, all taken down. He comes back, sends them documentation that the book was in public domain, and they go, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry, you can have your store back." What they did not do was put back all 4,000 books. So now he is in the process of re-putting all of his books up on Amazon. He's also working to make sure that there are new books, because he sells subscriptions. And, when a book comes out, that's when it makes its most money. And if he were to just not put out any new books for a few months, his income would drop. So he's putting together new books and trying to upload all the old books. It's just a nightmare for him. And it shows the problem with some of these things. Yes, Amazon is great for self-publishers and small press people like this, because they don't have to, they don't have to have a warehouse. They can do print on demand, and people can order it, and it's printed and sent out to them. But also, like anything else, when stuff is automated, if one thing screws up, it screws up a whole bunch of stuff down on the line. And now, geeking!
My freaking is the new, or not freaking, my geeking, I'm sorry, is the
fact that the Sandman series that they brought out was just freaking awesome. If you've listened to some of the podcasts that I've been on before, I've mentioned that the Sandman series was something that really was important to me when I first originally read it when I was in high school. And I will say, man, did they do a good job. Some of the shot-for-shots were amazing. The things that he changed to get away from the DC heroes themselves and from just to update the story was, I thought, all worked out really well. The changes that some people have been, upset about, I have no idea why. The person that they got to play Desire was just spot on. Was amazing in attitude and just the way they portrayed the character. The only complaint I had for the entire series was basically Lucifer's hair. I don't know what the hell. It looked terrible. I mean, granted, it looked exactly the way that it did in the comic. However, it did not work on the actress that they got to play Lucifer. Now, that is not a complaint about the actress, because the actress did an amazing job. Great Lucifer. Absolutely great. However, the hair did not look good on her. That was a change that should have been done. That wasn't done. Whoa. I don't care if it was comic accurate. It did not look right in live action. Other than that, I think everything, a lot of things are going good. We've got that. We've got Gotham Knights is coming out. I'm looking forward to that. Also, we've had a couple other things. I'm trying to think of what else is coming out. I'd ask for Cory's help, but he's not available to help me at the moment.
I have a few things I am geeking on. First off is that it was announced that the new season of Doctor Who will be on Disney Plus. It was also talked about in the article, but I could not find any details, that it would be co-produced with Disney. And one of the things about Disney is they are willing to spend the money for things to look good. I love Doctor Who. I think since they brought Doctor Who back in 2009, it's been an excellent show. There are, of course, bumps here and there, but for the most part, it's a really well done show with one problem. Budget. They don't have a lot of budget, and there are times when the CGI looks like one of those movies they used to show on Sci-Fi on Saturday nights that cost all of $50. Hopefully this means that Disney is going to put some money into the effects. They've also got their own special effects internal team. So we've also got Russell T. Davies coming back, who was the showrunner during what I consider the show's peak of the latest of the new Doctor Who run. So I'm really looking forward to things showing up there. The next thing that I am geeking on is that James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 and the second Suicide Squad movie, has kind of been named the showrunner for the DC Universe. And there are a lot of reasons I'm happy about this. There's also a producer who's involved who worked on the last couple of DC Comics movies and was involved in the Conjuring series, which I must admit I haven't seen. But mostly it's James Gunn that I'm excited about. And the thing is, I'm excited about James Gunn because, one, he loves comics. His stuff is comic accurate. Say what you want about Guardians of the Galaxy, but that was pretty much taken as much as possible from the Guardians of the Galaxy series that spun out of Armageddon. Same for Suicide Squad. I mean, he did a comic accurate version of Polka Dot Man. Now that's a deep dive. Also, his movies are brighter. They have hope. The lights are on. I look forward to these movies. One of the things that I haven't liked about the DC Comics movies is that they're so nihilistic. They're so with a dark, foreboding tone and a feeling that there are no real heroes. There's just people who fight bad guys. No. People want to see Superman because Superman is a hero. People want to see Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman is a hero. They They are light against the darkness. And one of the things also that Gunn brings into his work is humor. Say what you want about Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Justice League, etc. They are dead serious. We need humor. Humor is important in these because you're working with an inherently absurd premise. You could take that premise seriously, but the humor makes it feel more real. Like it's not. It's like when, you're a 14-year-old and you want people to take you very, very seriously. So you must take everything super seriously. An adult is comfortable enough that they're okay with things being funny and things being serious. It can be done. It can be done very well, as we've seen with Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and really most of the Marvel movies. So I'm really excited about that. Comic-wise, I read the 5th installment of the Reckless books by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. These are a series of original graphic novels about the character Reckless, who owns a movie theater and has a phone number, and if people need help, they leave a message, and if he's interested enough, he'll help them. What I like, first off, it's the same team that does Criminal and so many other great comics. They do great crime comics, but the thing I really like about this is it feels like a 60s, 70s men's adventure novel. Like the Travis McGee stuff by John D. McDonald, like the Parker novels by Richard Stark. Just that feel of this is a character who has a sense of honor but lives outside the law, because some of the things he does doesn't conform to it. The stories have all been excellent. The latest one, Destroy All Monsters, digs in a little to his past. They're taking a break now because they said they were going to do 5 in a row and then do some other stuff and then come back to it. I absolutely love these books. They get huge thumbs up from me. Very much buy them all. Probably the best original graphic novel series out there. I also read the new Chip Zdarsky book, Public Domain, over at Image. It plays in a well-worn field. It's another comic about people who created a character back a long time ago, and now the character's super popular, but they're not sharing in any of it. And this has been done to death in my eyes. But the thing about Public Domain is Chip Zdarsky kind of gives it a turn. He doesn't focus so much on the legal stuff as the family of one of the creators and the business interests of the other creator, and how those two are going to be bouncing off each other. The characters are all very well drawn, very interesting, and flawed. Some are flawed in a good way. Some are flawed in a bad way. Some just make bad choices. 5 issues are out. The first 5 issues kind of form what I call the pilot. It sets everything up. Very well drawn, very well done. Absolutely love this comic. First trade paperback has been solicited. When it comes out, it's $9.99. Pick it up. And the last comic I am geeking on is Marvel's Halloween comic, Crypt of Shadows. And what it is, it's an anthology book. And they use the name of one of the comics that Marvel published in the 70s that reprinted old 50s horror stuff. And at one point in the 70s, Marvel had like over 25 reprint books. And there were like 7 or 8 that reprinted 50s horror. There were some that reprinted the Kirby monsters. There were some that reprinted the earlier horror. There's some that, would have like a Ditko story, a Don Heck story, a story from somebody else, and then close with a Kirby story. But Crypt of Shadows is about horror characters at Marvel. One of the stories in there is a Man-Thing story. It's Man-Thing versus Wolverine by Adam Warren, and it is brilliant. Utterly brilliant. One of the things I like about Adam Warren is because he grew up reading manga and he enjoys manga. When he comes to superhero stuff, he's doing different things to them. But the story is framed by Stephen Strange's brother, who we recently found out about, has 4 short stories, all using different Marvel horror characters. There's a Moon Knight story that leads into the Moon Knight Annual. Highly recommended. I love these one-shots, especially when the short stories involved are good. Go out of your way to pick it up if you haven't already. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us talk about comic conventions, other conventions, and comics for an hour and a half. So, as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Hit my music.